Hey everybody, it's good to be back. I am ready to answer some good questions. These are some good questions today. Let's see, first one. How can I strengthen my immune system with food and supplements to protect myself during flu and cold season? Well, there's actually a few things that you can do, but I mean, we really want to look at food as like our gateway to either clean bill of health or the ability to take on a virus or to take on a pathogen. So I always like to think about certain foods as my way of fighting infection and certain foods as my way of like almost holding on to infection and building infection. For an example, if I consume dairy, there's a really good chance that my body will produce more mucus because of that dairy. And if I get around someone that's sick and I take on one of those germs and I have all that excess mucus, then there's a better chance that I'm going to hold on to whatever that bacteria is or whatever that virus is, whatever, just getting around sickness, that pathogen is, my body is going to be more likely to hold on to that. So excess mucus, not a good thing, typically caused by consuming dairy. So if I even remotely think I've been around someone that's sick, or I could be down-regulating my immune system, or my immune system could be a little down-regulated, I most definitely suggest that people do not have dairy, for sure. Coconut milk, almond milk, cashew milk, that's a different story, but definitely not cow's milk, so that you're not creating a build of mucus in the system. Now, if you're already sick and you definitely feel like you are dealing with mucus already, surely don't add dairy in. Don't add insult to injury, for sure, okay? Now, when I think about ways of strengthening the immune system with food, the very first thing we want to think about adding is vegetables. So vegetables fight free radicals for you. And I mean, they do it better than that vitamin C pill that you take. I'm not saying don't take the vitamin C pill, but I am saying that vegetables will actually do an incredible job of fighting free radicals. So anything that gets brought in, the components in your vegetables, all the vitamins and minerals, do an incredible job of fighting off pathogens and fighting off viruses and fighting off bacteria that could get built up and turning into a virus. So eat vegetables. Now, a lot of people will think, well, I need to eat a lot of fruit. But fruit is still a fair amount of fructose, so you want to manage the amount of fruit that you're eating. You don't want to go in excess. If you were to maybe have a fever, then some fruit could work to help cool the body, like an orange would work to help cool the body. A pear can moisten the lung, and it can make it to where if you're having a dry cough, a pear would come in and moisten. Pineapple would help to cool the body, so that would be a good option as well. So if you had a fever, you could interval like an orange, and then maybe 3 hours later do a cup of pineapple, and then maybe 3 hours later do a cup of pineapple, and actually take a vitamin C with those, because the vitamin C would help to cool the body down as well, which would help to draw that fever down. So they're just foods that have those properties. But either way, vegetables first, because they will fight free radicals. And then, of course, adding some fruit here and there, just not trying to be in excess with fructose. And I'd be cautious with bananas, because I think that they could ultimately, kind of create more of that mucus feeling if you already had some mucus going on. So I'd just be cautious of that. Okay, now, second thing that I would consume would be bone broth. Now, bone broth is different than just chicken stock, okay? Because if you look at the ingredients on chicken stock and you look at the ingredients on bone broth, they're two very different things. And a lot of times with the stock, you can actually get some really bad ingredients. So you want to be cautious with that. So you're looking for bone broth. The brand that I typically get when it comes to bone broth is Kettle and Fire. That's my favorite brand. I also like Bonafide Provisions. That's frozen. You buy it frozen. Kettle and Fire is something that you buy like in the little carton. When I make a pot of soup, I actually make a pot of soup with 5 cartons of bone broth. So if I make soup. So when it comes to bone broth, the reason why, the old wives' tale is that you would have chicken soup when you're not feeling good. It certainly isn't for the fake pieces of chicken that are in there and the weird noodles. It's for the broth. The broth is the healing part of chicken soup, and especially bone broth. So it's the vitamins and minerals that are going to come in and infuse you and really help to aid with healing. It's almost as if you are taking in an IV when you take in that bone broth. Like you're getting very similar benefits as if you're hooked up to an IV and taking in a Myers cocktail. That's what that bone broth is doing for you. So ways of getting in bone broth. Well, I mean, the simplest way to get bone broth in is to put it in a coffee cup, warm it up, and drink the bone broth. Like if you really are feeling like your immune system is down regulating and like you could be taking on a virus, then I would most definitely get a coffee cup up and I would put 16 ounces of bone broth in there and warm it up, and I would get bone broth in right away. There have been times where I have felt that way, or my daughter has felt that way, or my husband has felt that way. And I've had them, brought that bone broth in as quickly as I could. And I feel like we've zapped it. Like we've literally been able to zap it. One time my daughter had a sore throat and we had bone broth in back at the gym, and I warmed up the bone broth. I got my red light, my little handheld red light out, and I had her hold it on her throat with the goggles for 15 minutes. Just had her sit there and hold the red light. And then I had her drink the entire bone broth. We woke up the next day, no sore throat. She didn't end up with any type of virus at all. Not in 5 days, not in 2 days. She didn't end up with anything. So we were able to catch it before it turned on to something, but you started to see those symptoms come on. The other thing we could do with bone broth, other than just drinking it, is making a soup. The soup is probably the easiest thing humanly possible to make. There's no one on the planet that cannot make soup. Like, it couldn't be an easier food to make, and it is so good for you. I just got done telling you vegetables fight free radicals for you, right? So we want you eating plenty of vegetables. Just got done telling you that. Then that combined with the bone broth is like powerful. I mean, this is preventative for you. This is just a great way to keep you from getting sick. So put that bone broth in there. When I make soup, I put 5 cartons of bone broth in, a couple bottles of water, and then I take a bag of rice cauliflower frozen, a bag of green beans frozen. I'll put sauteed carrots, onion, and celery in there. If I really want to make a vegetable soup, I'll put chopped tomatoes in there. I'll put cabbage in there, throw all different types in there. Any type of soup that you want to make, you can utilize either chicken or beef bone broth. So that bone broth is very healing. The vegetables on top of it. So that's another way that you could get your bone broth in, is by making soup. The other way is you could cook a roast in it. Just get yourself a roast and just, submerge the roast in bone broth. And that's kind of creating an au jus for that beef, and then that could be poured over your beef, but it's soaking into it as well. So creating almost like an au jus for the roast, but also cooking it in that. So that's another way. And then cooking your vegetables with bone broth. So that's another way of getting that bone broth in. Bone broth is game changing though. That is definitely a preventative, something that you should do on a regular basis. As soon as fall hits, and that was like September the 22nd this year, as soon as the first day of fall comes, I start making soup. We as a family have a bowl of soup every single day. And do we like the soup? Yeah. I mean, we think it's great. But the reason we're having the soup is because it's our form of medicine. We definitely take our share of supplements, but that soup is healing. Now, here's the other thing that we can do to build the immune system, to fight off pathogens and to really try to keep ourselves from getting sick. And I do this by way of my soup. I am going to use garlic, I'm going to use oregano, and I'm going to use a chipotle pepper. And I put all of that into my saute. So I put an entire tablespoon of minced garlic into my soup. I put 2 of the chipotle peppers that I've minced up, like they're basically a paste. Put that in for the saute. And then I put a fair amount of oregano. I put 2 tablespoons of oregano in my soup. And I can tell you, like, I can feel that benefiting me. I mean, truly, oregano and garlic and the chipotle pepper, those are basically like antibiotics for the body. They can kill parasite, can kill fungus, it can kill bacteria. That's actually utilized in the treatment of killing any of those things, okay? So if you happen to bring something in and you know that you're starting to downregulate, get you some soup, put some oregano in it, put some garlic in it. I've even been known to take a whole garlic clove and put some olive oil in it and then just roast it in my countertop oven, and I'll just eat that garlic clove if I really feel like I've taken something on. And what will happen is if you truly have something that needs to be fought, if you have a virus that needs to be fought, you'll get a fever. You'll get a fever, and it will be recognized, and you'll know that the body, there's some die-off happening. The body is trying to fight something, and that garlic has come in like an antibiotic, and it's trying to kill that virus for you. And so that's definitely something that I do in order to fight, getting the flu, or if I feel like my immune system is starting to get broken down. Now, other things that you can do is take supplements. And a pretty standard immune supplement protocol, very standard one, would be vitamin C, zinc picolinate, and then I would suggest NAC, N-acetylcysteine. It's called NAC for short. And then vitamin D3. That combo was kind of like the COVID cocktail, I guess, that was always suggested. That's something that I've taken for probably 8 years now, maybe almost 10 years now. Highly beneficial. That NAC is really good for just helping the liver to be able to appropriately detox. So trying to work things through your system. Vitamin C, fighting free radicals for you. D3, strengthening your immune system and fighting free radicals for you. And then the zinc picolinate, fighting infection for you. Are there other things that you could take? Absolutely. I mean, I take a lysine from a viral perspective. We use Research Nutritionals, and they have an immune building pill that we take that my husband and myself and my daughter take every single day. I take 30 drops of cat's claw every single day. Again, these are all things that just I do. You most definitely want to talk to your doctor before you even consider it. Now, when it comes to minerals, I always take an electrolyte, a daily electrolyte. And so that's how I would get my magnesium, my potassium, my calcium, and a little bit of sodium in that. So that's a standard supplement protocol that could benefit you. If you live here in St. Louis, O'Fallon Nutrition is out here in St. Charles County. That's who I suggest in St. Charles County. In St. Louis County, I suggest Palm Health. If you don't live in St. Louis, you can go out to integritytrainingsystems.com, and we have on our very first page our Palm Health online supplement store. All of those supplements are there. Those are physician recommended level quality supplements, pure encapsulations. There's multiple different orthomolecular, Zymogen, multiple different brands on that site. But those are just very specific items that I have picked that I recommend to my clients. And all of those items that I just suggested are out there on that site if you're looking for an immune protocol. There is also on that site an acute immune support box. It's one that you can buy. If you definitely feel like you've taken on a virus, there is a morning pack and an evening pack, and it's high dose of all of those items. That is excellent at really trying to shorten the duration of something or really just keeping it from even turning into something. So I hope that all of that has helped you. The only thing that's outside of food, and supplements that I will suggest, there's a lot of things that you can do to boost immunity outside of food, but salt baths. I mean, when I thought I was taking on a virus, we had some people that, had been canceling because they'd been sick and, they had been here maybe 2 days prior, so you had gotten around someone who is sick. And I felt on a Friday like, okay, I can tell, I think maybe like I'm kind of feeling like I've been taken down a notch. And I took all of those items that I suggested. I took my soup like I would normally take, and I went home and I put 4 cups of fully mineralized sea salt in my bath, and I soaked in that for 20 minutes. And I mean, I soaked. I just sat there from my neck up and I soaked 4 full cups of it. And when I got out, Done. Didn't deal with anything. Woke up the next day and I was perfectly fine. Again, taking all of my normal protocols, all my normal things that I typically do. So hope that helps you guys. And I do pray that you're able to get through this cold and flu season strong. These protocols have really helped my family. They've made all the difference. But you also have to have your nutrition right. You know, I mean, if you're eating a lot of dairy, if you're eating a lot of gluten, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugar, if you don't have a balanced diet, you're not bringing a lot of vegetables in, you don't have quality fats, you're not getting enough protein, it's definitely going to make a difference. Like, your food is a big component to how well you're going to feel every single day. So that's a factor as well. Okay, second question. When is it okay to have a cheat meal? That's kind of funny, like as if I'm like the ultimate decider. If a client was asking me that, I do a 6-month nutrition program where I meet with people once a month, and they have direct contact with me, so they can text me on a regular basis. I'm telling them exactly what to eat, where to buy it from, how to prepare it, what to order when they eat out, what to do when they travel. So it's a very specific program. So if that client asked me, when is it okay to have a cheat meal? Well, that would be dependent upon their goals. That would be dependent upon what we're trying to accomplish. Definitely not in the first 30 to 60 days, because I'm trying to put them on an anti-inflammatory diet and I'm trying to reduce histamine. So I don't want to bring any of those foods in. Now for you, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, your birthday, your husband's birthday, your wife's birthday, of course you're going to have something that's off. Should you have something every week? Should you have something 2 times a week? I don't know. It kind of depends on your immune system. If you have something and your weight goes up by 5 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds, and it takes you an entire week to get that 3 to 5 pounds off, or worse, 2 weeks to get that 3 to 5 pounds off, I don't think I would suggest having a cheat meal every week. I also don't like the idea of calling it a cheat meal. Just make the decision that you want to have a meal. If it's not on your plan, it's just a meal that's not on your plan, but don't call it a cheat. Because when you call it a cheat, you're almost building a circumstance where you're allowing yourself to think that you're doing something wrong. So you're almost equipping yourself to feel like a failure while you're eating it. Enjoy the heck out of the meal. Respect the fact that you made the decision to do something, and get up the next day, get right back on your food, and get your exercise in. But from a health perspective, if you truly have health issues, immune system issues, autoimmune condition, any of those scenarios, struggling to lose weight, water retention, you want to watch and see what your body does with that off meal, and then decide, how often should I be doing this based on how my body responded. Okay, it may not be a good idea. The other thing is, it just may not be the right off meal. So you might need to make sure you don't have gluten, dairy, and sugar. Maybe you just need to have just dairy, and that's your off meal. Okay, maybe you just need to have just gluten, and that's your off meal, or just sugar. Or maybe you need to not have any of those, and you need to make it dairy-free, gluten-free, and you need to make it sugar-free with applesauce, with stevia, with protein powder. And although it's not on your plan, and if you ate too much of it, you'd probably gain some weight, it's not going to make you sick. So there's always a way, but you're the one that gets to decide that. When you should have an off meal, that's your decision. You gain wisdom with every off meal. It teaches you and coaches you on how food is responding in your body. And then you have to decide, do I want to continue to feel that way? Do I want to lose a week on weight loss, or am I already at the weight that I want to be at? I'm stable. It's okay for me to have this. I'm not having health issues because of it. I'm able to overcome it within 2 to 3 days. My water retention goes down within 2 to 3 days. I'm okay. But here's the thing. When we think about blood sugar spikes, that's how we create inflammation in the body. When we think about high histamine producing foods, that's how we swell the body and we start to generate symptoms in the body, okay? So if I'm having something on Saturday, Tuesday, and then Friday again, I'm just cycling the same inflammation and the same histamine responses, and my body's not likely to really drop the fluid from that. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. So please just be careful with the amount of times that you're having it, because you just start to build some things. Now, the other thing we want to consider when you're having it is your gut health. You know, what happens when you have that? Do you swell up? Do you get super bloated? Do you feel like you're craving more sugar? Does it change your brain? Does it change your mood? Those might not be the foods that you want to have for that off meal. And again, if it's furthering disease, if it's furthering an issue that you have, it's causing worse rosacea, it's causing worse cystic acne, it's causing more bloating, it's causing more issue with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, I wouldn't suggest doing it. If it's causing your arthritis to flare up, I wouldn't suggest doing that food. Find another formula. Find a healthier way of doing it. There's always a way. I have 6 cookbooks for that reason. There's always a healthier way to do it. Okay? Now, the third question is, can food help my anxiety? Absolutely. It can also create your anxiety. Okay, so there's so many foods that are making people anxious. I mean, they're basically going to town right now on Kellogg's, which praise God for that. The Food Babe and all of her, efforts, she's outstanding. I always recommend that my clients follow the Food Babe. She's awesome. And what she's doing, I mean, for Kellogg's, the whole reason, those food dyes and those sugars with the gluten, with the corn, with the soy, all that's combined in those foods will cause anxiety. It is going to throw off your brain. Your neurotransmitter levels are built by the nutrients on your plate. If your plate is out of balance, you don't have protein, carbs, and fat, it's more carbs than it is protein and fat, you're going to do a great job of building one neurotransmitter and a terrible job of building the others, and you are going to end up chemically imbalanced. And over time, your body's going to keep craving what it takes to keep that irrational level of either serotonin or dopamine or whatever's off up. And you're going to keep craving those bad foods, and you're going to continue to have anxiety. The other thing that creates anxiety is a blood sugar build and a blood sugar dump. Those spiking and the rate at which it's spiking and the rate at which it's coming down will definitely cause anxiety. So your food can 100% help with anxiety. It can also hurt anxiety, okay? I was just talking to my daughter the other day about a few anxious people that we know and how they struggle. And, they lack in some cleanliness and organization. And so you can tell how chaotic their home environment is and how dirty it is and how unorganized it is. It just always leaves them feeling just a little anxious, okay? Now, we add bad food to that, and it's going to make it so much worse. Now, there are obviously people who have brain imbalances. My husband has traumatic brain injury. So there's always going to be scenarios where maybe you do need a medication. Maybe you do need a supplement. Maybe it's absolutely necessary, even if your diet is absolutely on point. But the first thing you want to change is your diet. Okay, that's the first approach. Before you just go and take a medication, get on a balanced diet. Get on a well-balanced, anti-inflammatory, low-histamine diet, one that will fuel your brain and balance your brain. Give it 60 days. And if nothing changes, then get on the medication. But try the food first. Try reading a book called The Mood Cure. It's an excellent book. It talks about how food impacts your mood. And yes, most definitely can food impact your anxiety. I hope that these questions helped you. My passion for this is to be able to engage with people and to really be able to give them information that they need. And so what I'd like to do is create a program that becomes a subscription at a very affordable price, not like $1,000 or even, $300 or $200. I want it to be very reasonable, a price that you can pay each month and you can have regular visits with me. You can engage, you can ask questions, you can learn from the other group of people that are involved, and all of you can engage with each other and help each other. My goal and my desire is to start that in January and to do that online and to make it very affordable for people to block out 1 hour, probably 2 days a week, probably 2 times a month. One of our discussions will be nutrition-based. The other discussion will be exercise-based. And I will answer questions. I'll be very dynamic in trying to pour into you as much as I can. This is just an example of that style, and a very shortened example. I'm only doing 3 questions. I would like to dedicate an entire hour to it. Potentially one thing that I might do is do a half hour of it nutrition and a half hour of it exercise, so you get both times. So that's just something that I'm considering and really putting some effort into right now. And I had been doing these Q&As just to kind of open the door to that possibility and just to see the kind of feedback that we get from the Q&As. And we've had a lot of really good feedback. All of these old Q&As are out on YouTube. So if you look up Debbie Portell, Portell Morris, you'll find those on YouTube, all the older ones. Plus, you'll find all my old radio shows. I've been on the radio for 13 years. All my podcasts, all of that is out there. And there's some cooking videos and things like that. So I hope this helped you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.